Look, we all know the story. From comic books to Hollywood blockbusters, the Third Reich was basically one giant occult cult. Guys trying to win World War II with black magic, miracle weapons, and, when all else failed, hunting down the Ark of the Covenant, the Spear of Destiny, or the Holy Grail. I mean, you name it, the Nazis are doing it in some movie somewhere. Searching for Shambhala in Tibet, building polar bases in Antarctica, opening doors to other dimensions, and yes, designing flying saucers. And those flying saucers, that's exactly what we're getting into today. We're going to start with the stuff that's kinda real and work our way down into full-blown occult madness. This story's got ancient Atlanteans, aliens, disc-shaped aircraft painted with black crosses, and, I'm not kidding, the band Foo Fighters. And just so we're clear up front, every extremist group and ideology we're about to talk about, we condemn completely. None of this is endorsement, it's history. Now here's where it gets interesting. There actually was one real German aircraft with a disc-shaped wing. Confirmed, real, built by a farmer/hobbyist named Arthur Sack. Back in 1938, Sack rolls up to a model aircraft competition in Leipzig with this thing that basically looks like a flying pancake with a little motor on it. And that pancake catches the eye of Ernst Udet, a 4-star general in the Luftwaffe, big shot, top brass. So they tell Sack, hey, keep going with this, scale it up. By 1944, he's got the first piloted prototype ready. They called it the AS-6, disc-shaped wing made of fabric and plywood, cockpit and engine cannibalized from regular planes. Problem was, they couldn't get their hands on a decent engine, so the thing flew about as well as you'd expect, which is to say not great, and it never got the chance to save the Reich. American bombers caught it sitting on the airfield and blew it to pieces. Those American pilots, they probably didn't even notice. They were way more focused on something a whole lot stranger. Starting in 1944, Allied bomber crews start filing these reports. Bright, unidentified objects zipping along next to their planes on bombing runs over Germany. Fast, glowing, unexplainable. These fireballs never attacked anybody, but man did they freak the pilots out. Nobody had any idea what they were. Secret weapon? Optical illusion? St. Elmo's fire. The pilots gave them a name, Foo Fighters. The word foo was lifted from this comedian back in the 30s and basically meant some kind of nonsense. That's what they thought they were seeing, nonsense in the sky, and honestly, we still don't know what they were. The mystery's never been solved, but hey, now you know where Dave Grohl got the name for his band. Now at this point, flying saucers weren't even a thing yet. Those were still waiting to be invented. And here's how that happened. June 24th, 1947, regular American guy Kenneth Arnold, flying his little private plane on business. He swings by Mount Rainier on the way. See, a military transport plane had crashed in the Cascade Mountains not long before that, and they were offering $5,000 to whoever found it. Big money back then. Sky's clear, but Arnold doesn't find the wreck. What he does find, 9 identical silver objects flying in formation over the mountains, absolutely hauling. Now here's the thing, Arnold himself never said they were aliens, not once. He figured he'd stumbled onto some secret test of an experimental aircraft. Earthly, American, classified. He told the reporters the objects were flat, crescent-shaped, and moved kinda like a stone or a saucer skipping across water. And the reporters, they heard saucer and went, aha, aliens, flying saucers. And that was it. The flywheel was spinning. Within weeks, people in every state in the country are seeing flying saucers. Full-on saucer mania. And then somebody nails down the look, the classic UFO design. That credit goes to a guy named George Adamski, UFO researcher, occultist, and frankly, total con man. Adamski's famous as the first guy to claim he'd actually met aliens. Said they took him on a road trip to Venus. And as proof, he busts out these photos of alien spacecraft. Trouble is, one of those spacecraft looks suspiciously like a lampshade from the local department store. And that's the design that stuck. Meanwhile, what were the actual German scientists thinking about all this? After the Reich collapsed, they scattered everywhere. Some, like the rocket guy Wernher von Braun, got snapped up by the Americans. Engineers from Junkers and Heinkel? The Soviets grabbed them, set up a whole German design bureau for them in what would become Dubna. Others ran for it, like the Horten brothers, who bailed to Argentina and spent their time trying to sell their bombers to dictator Juan Perón, and when that didn't work, converting them to Hall oranges. I'm not making that up. But there was a third category. Guys who, under Hitler, were basically coffee boys to the real engineers. But now, suddenly, they wanted their 15 minutes. Spring of 1950, a big Italian newspaper drops a bombshell. Claims flying saucers were already invented during the war, in Italy and Germany. Some Italian engineer says, "Yeah, back in '42 I designed a 30-foot flying disc." But tragically, the Germans confiscated his blueprints. Oh no! Then comes the German response. A pilot writes into Der Spiegel and says, "Oh yeah, during the war I developed a flying top. Details? Nah, just take his word for it." And that was just the warm-up. By 1953, in a paper called Welt am Sonntag, a guy named Georg Klein gives the full story, real Third Reich flying saucers, which he personally witnessed near Prague. And these things supposedly could hit 2,500 miles an hour. Klein's article kicks off a whole genre. Suddenly, everybody and their grandma is just now remembering all the secret stuff they saw on Nazi airfields, or that uncle in the SS who told them all about it. And every single one of these stories has the same hidden message. If somebody would just give me funding, I could finish my revolutionary research. But up to this point, we're still talking about earthly technology, just discs. What changed everything was two former SS guys, Wilhelm Landig and Rudolf Mund, plus a Swiss engineer named Erich Halleck tagged along. These three set up shop in Vienna in the 50s and basically invented the whole mythology of post-war esoteric Nazism from scratch. They grabbed bits and pieces from everywhere, Ariosophy and Atlantis mysticism from the old Vril Society. And of course, Atlantis was populated by Aryans naturally. Threw in the Ring of the Nibelungs from German Romanticism, Shambhala from Madame Blavatsky, then sprinkled their own homemade fantasy on top. In their version, the SS had this top-secret division called the Black Sun, and they discovered the Black Sun symbol as a floor decoration in Wewelsburg Castle, which, yeah, was an SS training school and one of Heinrich Himmler's residences. But these guys took that and ran with it, mamified it, as we'd say now. Bottom line, these are the guys who built the mystical Nazi mythology we all know from the movies. In their telling, National Socialism wasn't even a political ideology. It was a cosmic, Gnostic battle of good against the forces of darkness. Landig set up his own publishing house, Volkstum, and just cranked out this stuff non-stop until he died in 1997. Perfect example, his so-called Thule trilogy. Plot goes like this. End of the war, two German soldiers hop in a flying disc and fly from Norway to a secret base near the North Pole. Base is called Point 103, and it's an occult SS laboratory. Living there? Not just Germans, Arabs, Native Americans, Japanese, Chinese, South Americans, Mongols, and of course, Tibetan lamas. And the Tibetans are the key because they know the secret paths to the spiritual centers of the world. Like, for example, the mythical underground kingdom of Agartha. Now, while the Austrians and the French are writing fantasy novels, the British and Americans are doing science fiction. In the 70s, you get this whole flood of books in the genre Hitler's Secret Weapons. Recipe was pretty simple. Author finds some napkin in the archives from a Berlin bar, where some brilliant German engineer had supposedly sketched out a super bomber in 3 strokes of a pen. Show that napkin to the engineer's former colleagues, if you could track them down in America, and they'd happily fill in the details. Then you commission an artist to draw what the thing might have looked like. Stack up enough of those drawings, and boom, you've got a beautiful coffee table book. Hit after hit after hit. The genre even got its own name, Luftwaffe 46, as in, the Nazis didn't quite make it to 1946, but if they had, oh man, what wonders we would have seen. Orbital bombers, rocket fighters with forward-swept wings, jet-powered flying wings designed to drop atom bombs on America, and of course, the showstopper, Nazi flying saucers that look suspiciously similar to the drawings UFO contactees were producing. And eventually, the Hitler secret weapons stories and the alien stories completely fused together, gave us this whole specific flavor of UFO mythology. The brightest star of this whole thing, a Chilean diplomat named Miguel Serrano. In 1978, he publishes a book called The Golden Chain: Esoteric Hitlerism. Serrano spent his entire life obsessed with two things, magic and Nazism, none of which, somehow, stopped him from holding down a job in the Chilean Foreign Service. He was Chile's ambassador to the International Atomic Energy Agency. No, I'm serious. Then in the 70s there's a leftist revolution in Chile, and Serrano splits for Europe, where he spends a lot of quality time hanging out with surviving Nazis. And at this point he has fully lost the plot. He insists Hitler was an enlightened bodhisattva, that he never actually died, that he's coming back, leading a fleet of UFOs to conquer the Earth. And the Aryan race, extraterrestrial in origin. The Norse gods? Ancient aliens who landed on Earth and gifted us culture and civilization. Now Serrano, as far as anyone can tell, genuinely believed all this absurd nonsense. His French competitors, though, two cheerful pranksters named Louis Pauwels and Jacques Bergier, those guys probably didn't believe a word of it. Didn't stop them, though. Back in the 60s, they put out what is, without exaggeration, the cult classic of the UFO crowd, The Morning of the Magicians. Pauwels and Bergier, they were milking the public for all it was worth with these wild tales of secret occult orders and SS battle wizards on the front lines of World War II. But these two guys deserve real credit for popularizing one of the biggest pieces of the whole UFO myth, Vril energy. Now, they didn't invent the term. That goes back to 1871, coined by a vegetarian British novelist named Edward Bulwer Lytton, who used it to describe some kind of immense cosmic power. And The Morning of the Magicians took that idea and put it to work for esoteric Nazism. Turns out, according to them, Nazi flying saucers ran on Vril energy, not jet fuel, and the Third Reich itself was secretly run by an occult group called the Vril Society. The Society's mission kept getting bigger and bigger, especially once a couple of far-right UFO researchers in the 80s, Jürgen Rathofer and Ralph Ettel, got hold of it. To these guys it was obvious. The Vril Society was, first and foremost, training telepaths and alien contactees. Telepaths, see, were needed to phone home to the Aryan race's real homeworld, the star system Aldebaran. As for the contactees, they were exclusively recruited from long-haired blonde Aryan women with long legs. Naturally, on Hitler's orders, these women would mentally connect with the galactic Aryan motherland, which would then beam back advice on how to fix planet Earth, and conveniently, attached to that advice, blueprints for anti-gravity engines to build an entire fleet of German UFOs. Books got written about all this, documentaries got made. Rathofer and Ettel are the ones who came up with the iconic look of the Nazi spaceship. They eventually ditched the whole contactee angle, but they kept the ships, and the design they used, they straight up borrowed Adamski's classic 50s flying saucer. Just slapped some Wehrmacht camouflage on it, bolted on a gun. Done. Came with a bonus too, a space aircraft carrier called the Andromeda Gerät, but that one didn't catch on. The saucers though, oh, those caught on. They got a name, Haunabu. Allegedly it's ancient Egyptian for stranger or barbarian, and from that point on, Nazi space saucers have been flying from book to book, movie to movie. You can even buy plastic model kits. Snap them together, set them on the shelf next to your X-Wing. But, and this is the part that matters, keep one thing in mind. The actual Nazis were not saved by their advanced tanks, not by their jet fighters, not by their ballistic missiles, not by any of the cutting-edge military tech they actually had. By 1945, the Soviet army on the Eastern Front had achieved total crushing superiority, so overwhelming that, honestly, Hitler probably couldn't have been saved by a flying saucer either, even with a full tank of Vril.